Hello and welcome back to the Trademark Sports YouTube channel. Today we are starting a new series for the 2024 Rugby League season where we're just going to go over every single week, like the games from the weekend, and just talk about it for a couple of minutes each, like just my thoughts and that sort of thing. If you want some super hyper analytic stuff, this isn't the place for it. I was going to talk a little bit about it and just give some general thoughts, basically just from the punter at home and what I thought about it. So we're going to talk about the trials from this week, but let's get straight into it. We started the week, football was back with the Bulldogs versing the Storm at Belmore. It's unreal to see. And to be honest, the doggies looked bloody good, eh? Like, in attack, especially that first 20-40 minutes, going from left to right, which is like interesting for teams. Usually they go from right to left. They looked so fluid with the ball. Blake Taff, I thought, was unbelievable. Looked really good in his first hit out in doggies colours. Other guys like Drew Hutchinson really impressed me in that first half when he had those minutes there. Matty Burton still looked a little bit off the pace. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with him there. What I'm also interested to see, because a lot of the attack went to the right-hand side, I assume the Fox will be on the left. I assume he'll be on the left there, so that'll get more ball out to that left-hand side. It's going to be interesting to see where Stephen Crichton plays. I feel like he's going to play this week's trial at fullback. I'd love to see him in that right centre spot and then have Fox in that left wing. Sort of balances out your attack a little bit more and makes it so you can't just load up the right side defensively if you're the other team. I think, honestly, the Bulldogs, there was some good signs. Sam Hughes, I thought, was great. He's definitely, I can see why they got massive raps for him there. You know who else I thought was really good? Jamin Salmon as a 13. And it makes perfect sense because he's like big body, played in the forwards, can ball play and whatnot. I thought it was great to watch. And then that way as well, it means you can have Josh Curran off the bench as like another prop and stuff because they are light on forwards, as we know. Just balances out the squad a little bit more. One to watch for sure. And then the Storm, look, they didn't look great. Obviously wasn't their first team. None of their first graders were really there. If there was, it's sort of more the fringy guys that play on the bench and whatnot. But yeah, maybe the depth isn't what it used to be there at the Storm. Don't know if I'm reading into that a little bit too much or something, but yeah, I think they'll be fine. Once they got all their stars, like Pappy looked really good. That first 40 looked fluid, looked like he was just back to like that original Pappy that we used to see. So that's awesome for him and for his confidence too. Then we went to the All-Star games. Couple little takeaways from me. You don't want to read into it too much because it's a lot of guys that they play together once a year in the All-Star game. But something you could read into a little bit was Trindle and Hines because they play clubland together. Trindle took a lot of responsibility off Hines with the playmaking and being more ball dominant. And I think it's really going to help the way that Cronulla play in terms of it doesn't mean that Nico Hines has to do absolutely everything. If teams can shut down Nico, they shut down the Sharks. But if Braden Trindle can step up and do more of the ball playing and be more controlling and not just make it just a pedestrian one-way kind of attack from the Sharkies, they could do a bit in this competition this season. So I do like that from a Sharks perspective. I thought Latrell looked good in that first quarter. I think as the game went on, he sort of just faded a little bit out of the game. That is what it is. Tarpanay and Mooney were great for the multi-side, and we'll talk about the Raiders 4-pack later, but it looks pretty stacked. What else we got here? Shaq Mitchell, I thought was superb. Just gets better with more and more footy. Every single time I watch him, he gets better. You can see he's really starting to get more confident in his game. Jack Howarth, a guy that we've looked at for a while. He showed a bit of dog. He had a bit about him. He was making some post-contact meters, affecting the game with his ball running, which is good, positive signs for the Storm. Lastly as well, you know who else looked pretty strong and jacked? Was Josh Adokar on his old carnivore diet. He looked chiseled, massive, lean, quick. Just looked the goods. So then, first game, there's 4 games on Saturday. It's ridiculous. Now, Knights versus Sharks. Had to watch this one back. So the Knights did make light work of the Sharks. Obviously, they had mostly a full-strength team versus Sharks Reggies, but Dylan Lucas looked great in that left edge. Scored a couple of really good tries. That one from Hastings, that left foot kick. That was a beautiful watch. Dill Lucas looks like he could be on for that starting left edge spot. It's interesting to see that they had him on the left edge because it sounded like Frizzell was going to move there. And you would have thought that Frizzell being the first picked second row, obviously for the Knights, that you'd have your second option for the starting second row starting that right hand side. But that may not actually be the way that the Knights are going to go moving forward. They seemingly honestly picked up from where they left in 2023. Will Price was really good in the second half. Scored a nice try and got a good try assist as well. And David Armstrong, right? So he's a fullback by nature, but he had 5 touches of the football on Saturday and scored 3 tries. It's a decent conversion rate. And then the Sharkies, look, it's hard to say much about them. Like, it was basically second string side, couldn't keep up with the Knights outfit, and basically, if you're a Sharks fan, just put it in the back of the mind. Like, I don't think any team's reserve grade is going to beat mainly a first grade outfit. It's just the way it goes. Then Roosters took on Manly. Now, close to full strength Roosters, they won, but only just really against reserve grade Manly. Daniel Tupou, everyone's been saying, nah, he's done, he's washed, he's finished. Scored 2 tries and looked really good. Looked athletic still. He's like in his early 30s. Just needs to put some more respect on Daniel Tupou's name. I think he looked pretty good. Attack looked like it actually flowed well, which we haven't been able to say really about the Roosters over like the start of the season anyway, last couple of years. So that's good if they're going to pick up from that spot. Tell you what though, Manly, they held their own against the Chookies. Like, they had half their Reggies, half fringe first grader side, and they were $9 odds, right, before the game started. They're nearly up at half time. Like, you chuck in their guns, DCE, Turbo, Garrick, Brooks even in that team, and like their proper 4-pack as well. They could be they could be tough to handle. Like, they could definitely take some scalps, the bigger teams in the competition. That took us to Eels versus the Raiders. Now, the Raiders, like, the young Raiders stole the show in the end. Like, the guns, like we talk about, like Chevy Stewart, Ethan Strange, KO Weeks, Xavier Savage. None of them had bad games, for sure, but I don't think any of them really took a hold of the chance like we thought they were going to, given how much they've talked about it. But I'll tell you who did make most of their chance, James Schiller. He's definitely put his name in the hat for the vacant centre spot there. I thought he was great. That full length of field try score was electric. I thought, again, just in that second half, it was really good. And then the forwards as well, looked really good for the Raiders. Like, their depth is insane. Sami Solo and Peter Holler were great for them. And as I said before, like Joseph Tarpanay and Trey Mooney were really good in the All-Star game. Papa Litty's still going to be good. Corey Horsburgh, Morgan Smithies, who we'll probably see this week. Like, their 4-pack's actually stacked, to be honest, over at Canberra. I don't know how they do it, but they're all just tough, nitty-gritty forwards and play the Canberra way. Then the Eels, I thought Ethan Sanders did have some good moments, some not so good moments, but I thought he was quite encouraging signs. Brendan Hands looked really good coming out dummy half. I still don't know about the whole 80-minute hooker thing, but I think he could definitely be dynamic for 40, 50 minutes a game. And Kelma Tuolangi looked great in the eye test. And then I had a look at the stats. He had 160 plus running meters with 8 tackle busts. That's a great club debut. And definitely, like, in the past, for sure, anyway, Eels' second row spots have been like really competitive. And I think Kelma Tuolangi's definitely put his name in the ring for one of those spots. And then it was the Charity Shield. Right, this one did sting a bit. I'm a Dragons fan, so awesome positive signs. Life under Shane Flanagan, but there actually was some positive signs. I thought we came out with some good intent and energy early. Like Jaden Sewer looked fantastic, a lot of meters there. Jack Bird looked fit and was breaking tackles, and that's honestly probably the best minutes of football he's played at the Dragons. And Francis Molo, like they all 3 of them look like new players, and they all 3 guys that I thought Flano could be able to get the best out of. And hopefully it's just a sign of things to come for those guys. The attack was clunky. I mean, the one try in that first half did come from an error, but defensively they were good because Rabbitoh's first try came from an error. And Tyrell Sloan, man, it's a tough watch. I love Sloan. I think there is a very good footballer in there, but it looks like he's just under so much pressure in his own head. Like, he'd do one thing right and be awesome, and then just go and do one thing wrong. Like that line break off Ben Hunt, inside ball was like really good, and it looked like he was trying to force a try. Like, he sort of went away from his support. So just back yourself. Take the tackle if you have to. You don't have to score off every single play. But yeah, the poor bloke looks like he's a guy under pressure. I think Lomax was wasted on the wing. I'd like to see him get a shot at fullback or just be in the centres. Young kids did sort of struggle, but it's hard. Just had no possession. One thing I did notice in the first half was so much ball going to that right-hand side. I don't know how you balance that out. Like, I don't think Moses Sully and Ravalawa saw the ball in the first half on the left-hand side. So I'll see if there's any tweaks and adjustments this coming weekend. For the Rabbitohs, Jai Gray was fantastic. Looked like they've really uncovered a gun there. We're on saying like Blake Taft 2.0. From more reports, he's the guy that they've pinned to take over from Cody Walker moving forward. But yeah, I thought it was an absolute live wire. Looked really good. And just the Rabbitohs as a whole looked really good without their massive names. Got the job done, which is look, that's what they needed to do. That's what I expected to do. Mawali and Kepi were awesome. Like, if they can play like that week in, week out, that front row rotation is scary. In Sunday's games, the Warriors took on the Tigers in New Zealand. Tigers looked fluid. Bud and Caesar looked great. His combination. Aiden Caesar looked really good, man. Appy as well played well. The Wires a little bit out of sync. A send-off in a trial doesn't really help. But like in saying that, Jacob Laban scored a good try off Luke Metcalf setup. And again, like they didn't have the whole spine plan, that sort of thing. So like it does take a little bit to adjust to having new names, new faces. Getting another trial under their belt with all their basically their first team will be good for them. I'll tell you what, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck looked fantastic in his comeback to rugby league. New position, had a couple of years out of the game. Just sort of thought he might take a little while to get into, but he looked electric with the ball and was just snapping blokes in defence. Like, so he hasn't missed a beat there. And that was one of the things I was worried about was his defence, and he covered great. I don't think he got beat on the outside once and was just chopping blokes. Chanel Harris-Tavita as well. Looked really good. So, good selection headaches for Andrew Webster there. Cowboys versus Broncos. The Broncos were clinical. Reece Walsh was fantastic. So was Brendan Piakura. And Tristan Saylor again. Selwyn Cobbo too looked good on an edge there. They seemingly picked up where they left off, a bit like the Knights, how I was talking about before. Couple young blokes who, like, there's been massive raps on Ben Takura and Blake Moser. They came on late in that second half. Like, Blake Moser had a couple good flashes out of dummy half there. And as well as that, Ben Takura scored a good try, made a lot of meters, not a lot of time, and just looks like an absolute rugby league handful. And a player who name doesn't really get tossed in the ring unless there's an injury and stuff. And I mean, it makes sense when your halves partnership is Ezra Mam and Adam Reynolds. But Jock Madden really impressed me, actually. I thought he had quite a good game. For the Cowboys, a tough day for the youngsters. Sammy Valame had a good first stint in that first half. And right at the end, like something that's nice for the Cows fans was that Jackson Purdue scored a really good try towards the end of the game. Finay Fuiaki, he was really strong on that right edge for the Cowboys. So again, like I think it seems like they've re-signed him with Luciano Leilua seemingly out the door. So I think that's a good good pick up. Seems like a really good young player. It's going to just blossom into an absolute superstar. Then the last game of the trials from week 1 was the Dolphins versus the Titans. Now, the Titans reserve grade, the young kids, really gave it to the Dolphins, mainly first grade side in that first half. The defense was huge. And that seems like it's a Des Hasler effect because the Titans have never really been known as a defensive side. And I think Des Hasler teams in the past, that's like their systems are mainly built off the back of defense. And the fact that there was their Reggies giving it to them, that was awesome if you're a Titans fan. Obviously, the result in the end didn't really go their way, but okay, that is what it is. It's a trial game. There's a lot of stuff now with the preseason challenge that's like, oh my gosh, like if this team wins, they're going to go on and win the comp. Who really cares? Like, respectfully, Manly won the preseason challenge last year. They didn't do much during the regular season because it's trial form. Don't read into it too much, but I think what you can read into there is the systems in place, and this is the first time that I've really seen the Titans have a bit of like a dog in them, like if you know what I mean. We're really tight defensively, and I think you get that whole first grade pack into that. They could, again, be hard to beat. I'll tell you who was good, and it's funny because it's a team that has a million fullbacks. Jalen de Groot was great at the back. Still very raw. Made a couple of errors and stuff that you sort of think, like, man, like you're just trying to do a little bit too much there. Like, you did something good, just sit on it, reflect on it, help the team score, not just try to do everything for yourself a little bit. But again, it's a trial, trying to impress. He's got like 6 fullbacks in front of him, so he's got to try and get a shot somehow. I thought he was good. The Dolphins in the first half, no one really stood out for me, to be honest, in that team that was getting like rolled, basically. Jared Wallace was good off the bench. I thought he was the best player for the Dolphins for a fair chunk of that game. In the second half, Herbie Farmers went the fullback. I liked what I saw there. It looked electric, looked a bit of a live wire. Wouldn't mind seeing that at some point during the regular season. Tell you what else looked pretty good. A slimmed down Valence Tafade. Now, we said it last year, said it before. I like him. I don't really know how he fits in that team too much. Jake Averillo, certainly not a guaranteed starter there. So he could jag a centre spot, I guess. But like, look, he looks a lot slimmer. Looks like he's starting to understand the game of rugby league a bit more. Could definitely be useful at some point throughout the season for the Dolphins. And look, when they're able to hold on to possession, like, I mean, that was half the Titans' problem in the second half. They couldn't get the bloody ball. But like, I think the quality in the class showed through for the Dolphins, and we just like weren't making silly errors, weren't giving away dumb mistakes, that sort of thing. But again, as we've said, it's trials. Don't read into it too much because it's a long season. These teams start to play 24 rounds of actual competitive football. So yeah, don't read into it too much, but there's certainly signs for some clubs that things are looking up, and there's certainly signs for some clubs that things might not be so good. But let me know what you thought about the first week of Rugby League coming back for 2024. Myself, personally, I was stoked. about it. Like 4 games on a Saturday is just like awesome stuff, really. If you made it this far, I did have something I was going to say for you guys to leave in the comments. Let's just make it trials. Actually, no, that's what it was. Rugby league is back in all capital letters to let me know that you've made it this far in the video. But yeah, if you have made it this far, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and then drop a comment about who was the most exciting player you thought from your team over the weekend, and what your expectations are for your team this season. Thanks for watching, and remember to always, Scotty, drink your water.